Hi everybody and welcome back to another video. So in this one I'm going to be reflecting on the Oleksandr Usyk versus Anthony Joshua rematch and the aftermath of that fight. Going into the fight I thought of myself it's going to be one of the most anticipated showdowns in a very long time for the heavyweight division, and there's a lot riding on it, as I said in my preview before the fight, in which I said that Usyk may have the advantage because of, having beaten Joshua before, and he's just got a better skill set clearly than Anthony Joshua does. And what Joshua did have is the size and strength to put it on you and to eventually knock you out, and he has shown that in the past. And I did say that I was expecting Usyk to win the rematch, which of course he did, and that was via split decision in which two of the judges favoured Usyk while one favoured Joshua. And I think just the events afterwards really kind of shocked a lot of people, really, because of course it was particularly Anthony Joshua's behaviour after the fight, in which he was, he kind of went into a bit of a mental breakdown, and there was a lot of expectation on Joshua for this fight because it was pretty much kill or be killed. And I think how he acted in the ring by, chucking the belts away in that way and then storming out of the ring, arguing with Lomachenko, and then coming back and then delivering a speech which kind of really puzzled me and probably a lot of people watching it, where it wrung a huge number of emotions for him, I'm sure, but for everybody else thinking to yourselves, like, this has kind of really hit home for him now, where the reality of what his level is as a fighter. And to be honest, thinking about how he behaved in the ring, it was a disgrace. It was disrespectful to Oleksandr Usyk, and where he was arguing with Usyk in the ring and saying, like, how did you beat me, I've got character, you haven't, and all of this malarkey. Yet Usyk really just took it like a champ, where he didn't kind of fight back or argue with Joshua. He just tried to calm him down because he knew emotions were running high. That's a credit to Oleksandr Usyk, to be fair to him, and he did an absolutely brilliant job in the fight. And as a character, he did really well afterwards in how he handled the situation. Even though Joshua, to be fair, did better in this fight than he did in the previous one, he's just got to take it with a pinch of salt and just go, look, I lost to the better man. But at the same time, I understand where the frustration lies from his point of view, because a lot of people turned against him very quickly because of the Andy Ruiz first fight that he lost, because I know a lot of people thought that that was a fight that he probably should have won. He won the belts back, and then he fought Pulev and Oleksandr Usyk, and I think people kind of thought to themselves, because he was so outboxed in that first fight, that no one really took him seriously anymore, and that's why there was just so much pressure on him. And I think because he's had so much scrutiny from the press and from the public over the past year or so, that he really just kind of went into a mental breakdown. There were some things in the ring where he kind of overstepped the mark and just said some things that he shouldn't have said and did some things that he shouldn't have done. But from Joshua's point of view, I'm not condoning the behaviour, because it was a disgrace and it was completely disrespectful to Usyk. And because of how much better he performed in this fight compared to the previous one, it kind of tainted it a little bit, and that's what was disappointing. In many ways, his career was on the line, where he would almost never have another opportunity at a world title ever after this one if he lost, and of course he did. And that's where he just kind of erupted and just went totally out of character and just went over the top. I think a lot of people perceive Anthony Joshua as this, pretty boy, media-trained boxer. People look at him as like a figure or a role model in British boxing, and he's protected his media image for a very long time, I would say, where he's been obviously cautious about what he's been saying, and also he's been very, very humble in his responses to interviews and to fighters as well. And now I think he's kind of thought to himself, you know what, the public aren't appreciating me now. But equally, I just think it's a shame, because I respect Anthony Joshua, I really do. And to be honest, I would go as far as say he revived heavyweight boxing more than Tyson Fury did, especially following that Klitschko fight at Wembley Stadium back in 2017. That was a real turning point, I think, not just for his career, but just in general. That's why I think he deserves more credit than people give him credit for. And, as your career goes on, you end up fighting better boxers, and that shows how good you really are. And unfortunately, he fell a bit short with Oleksandr Usyk. I don't think he has anything to be ashamed of in this fight, because he fought well. He didn't win the fight, obviously, but he gave it a go, and he just should handle it with dignity. And emotions just ran high on part of Anthony Joshua. But even after the press conference, where he was talking about it, and then he was asked a question about was he proud of himself in that fight, and then he just burst into tears, and Eddie Hearn patted him on the back, and he had a moment where he was just, the reality hit him, basically, and it's just a shame, really. And I do feel for him, I really do. It's one of those things, I think a lot of people need to kind of take a step back and think to themselves, you know what, if someone had a dream about something and wanted to achieve it the absolute best they could, and took all the steps necessary to try and to achieve it, and yet it's still not good enough, you would feel terrible, you would feel like you're not worthy, you would feel you know, depressed, and you would just feel like it's just been worth nothing. And especially when you're someone who's in the public so much like Anthony Joshua is, you know, how do you hide from something like that and then move forward? And that's what I think a lot of people need to just understand, because at the end of the day, we're all human, and, you know, we all have emotions and stuff, but I just think that because people were able to turn on him very, very quickly, I think it's a reflection, this particular case, about how the world is now, because I think a lot of people look at the negatives in people a lot quicker than they do the positives. It's easier to criticise rather than praise, and unfortunately for someone like Anthony Joshua, who's in the limelight constantly, it's going to be hard for him to come back from this, I think, mentally. Joshua just needs to recover and recuperate. And one thing that shocked me as well, following what happened in the ring last night, how his team didn't intervene. No one came up to him and tried to calm him down afterwards, and that was a real shame, really, and that's disappointing, because, you know, maybe his previous trainer would have turned around and gone, come on Josh, you know, you need to just take a step back. He just didn't have many people pat him on the shoulder after the fight until the press conference when he was crying. But I do feel for Anthony Joshua, I really do, and I think he just needs a bit of breathing space in terms of, you know, how to move forward. So I think, like I say, because he's already a two-time heavyweight champion of the world, I think at heart he's a good guy, really, very much so. And, you know, I think he's someone who just needs to recover from what's happened, and he just needs to recover from his emotions, try and recover from the emotions of the loss, because, you know, he's done it before with the Andy Ruiz rematch, because everyone absolutely slated him for that loss. So yeah, I think Anthony Joshua will be back, but I think it's just a question of who he'll face, whether it's Dillian Whyte again, which I think would be a good shout, or whether he'll fight Wilder, because I think out of any other fighter, I think Wilder is at his level, because obviously Wilder's fought Fury and he's fallen short, like Anthony Joshua has, by fighting Oleksandr Usyk, because of course Joshua has had a number of different other opponents as well at elite level, but I think he's just fallen short and he's just reached the maximum that he can. And also Wilder's announced a comeback fight, so I think it'll be interesting to see where he goes after this as well. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where Joshua has struggled to come to terms with the loss of this fight. The emotions were running high in the ring, and it was a disgrace, to be honest, of how he behaved, how he disrespected Oleksandr Usyk, where he did that speech afterwards and he was just spouting about almost himself, really, rather than about Usyk. So that was just something that was just disappointing on his part, but I can understand from another perspective as to why the emotions were running high given the pressure, and I think he finally crumbled. Meanwhile, besides Anthony Joshua, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next with Oleksandr Usyk, and I know he's already called out Tyson Fury and says if he's not fighting Tyson Fury, he's not fighting at all. So he's given Tyson Fury a very blunt ultimatum, and of course, naturally, Tyson Fury has pretty much already said that he's coming out of retirement to fight Usyk for about the 50th time. So I think that'll be something that will be a very interesting fight if that happens. I can't see it not happening. I can't see Fury ducking out of this. He's got to do it. If he wants to prove he's the best of the generation, then he's got to fight Oleksandr Usyk. It's that simple. So what did you think of the Anthony Joshua versus Usyk rematch? Did you think it was closer than the previous fight, or was it just another massively convincing win for Oleksandr Usyk? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you did go on to enjoy this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more, and have a notification bell ticked so you're notified when I upload a new video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody.